Hello and welcome everyone back to the channel. It is Viking Actual here. Today I've got another build video for us, but it is going to be somewhat different to all of my previous ones. On various platforms I've been receiving a lot of constructive feedback, which I really appreciate. As long as it's constructive, feedback is always welcome. I recognise I am a small channel, and it's just great to get that feedback, which I can then work on to improve content for you guys, my audience. So always will be appreciating constructive feedback. The feedback that I have been receiving though is that the videos can be condensed, so from now on we are going to be making shorter videos that are less in depth and may lead to you being able to make interpretations and adaptations as you may see fit. Occasionally I will still do the long video that really does do a deep dive breakdown for the benefit of newer players, but we will be trying to stick to build videos being about 15-20 minutes long rather than 35 minutes. You may also be able to tell from my voice, not been feeling great, but I really wanted to make sure that you guys had a video coming out Friday, or what is now Saturday. But without further ado, without wasting any more time, these are our stats. As you can see, very similar to all of our previous stats, really solid in all areas, especially the critical chance. Massive crit build this one, so we are spec'd fully into crit chance and crit damage. Looking at our critical damage, once we're in combat that then shoots up another 30%, so just keep that in mind as well. But that's all of our stats for that, so if you need to see them, we're going to pause, have a look through so I don't have to spend too long. For our Mundus, we're using the Thief. Jewels of Mistral for food, so we have our recoveries and health, and then just ordinary buffs. Moving on to inventory, we have the Pyrebrand set on our front bar, so we're running a two-handed maul with a flame enchant and sharpened, so that extra penetration. Back bar, we're using Rallying Cry, so not only will we really spec'd into crit, we're also really good at mitigating enemy crit. So this also boosts our weapon and spell damage once we're in a battle spirit area. We're then using a monster set of Balog to increase our pen, so we're sat at 9,000, but obviously this increases it based on how much ultimate, so amazing crit damage, penetration set. So we've got the crit damage, we've got fairly high weapon and spell damage, and then we've just got amazing penetration, particularly when we're using our ultimates, which are quite cheap to keep our uptime. In terms of the weight of our armor, we have 4 medium, 2 heavy, and 1 light, which is helping us with our weapon and spell damage. We then have our 3 infused weapon and spell damage enchant jewelry pieces, so they're both Rallying Cry, and then we have our mythic, so we're running the Monomer 3 Forged. So we really have spec'd into trying to get our critical damage as high as possible and our crit chance to be basically every other hit you're dealing crit damage. And that is our sets. If you need to look up any of those sets, just Google them. Normally the top one will come up and you can have a read through the descriptions. Moving on to our skills. So what I didn't mention at the beginning is that we have subclassed, once again, base class of a Dragon Knight. We've built it around the ultimate of one of the Dragon Knights. I mentioned in my gameplay video, I do have a particular favourite, which I wish I had more love, especially the skill line, but I wanted to make a build video around that because I do really like that ultimate. So with base class Dragon Knight, we've then subclassed in Assassination, excellent skill line for critical, and then Animal Companions. It's another pretty good one for critical damage, but then it's also really good for sustain and buffs. So on our front bar, we're running Deep Fissure. This is going to give us our major and minor breach, so even more penetration. This will shoot up another 10,000, which means if we hit him with this, 18,000 before we've even procced Balog. So really good. It's our burst, so just make sure that you've always got it up. As soon as that second one goes off, you're popping it again. We then have surprise attack. This is a really cheap spammable, so we've got it on our triangle spam slot bar. We're not buffed up, so that till bar does go up. The really nice thing about this one is that every 3 seconds it is a guaranteed critical strike. So once we've got all of it up and we're sat on about 80% crit damage with our base, this really does hit nicely. We then, because it's also an assassin skill line, it also increases off the passives our critical strike chance. So it's really important to have that on your front bar. We then have our pretty much standard Wrecking Blow. Gives us that major berserk to increase our damage by 10%. It says another spammable, but if you could swap this to an execute if you really wanted. So you could have either Killer's Blade, there you go, extra crit chance. You could even use Executioner from the two-handed if you wanted. But yeah, I would say that's definitely a flex spot if you wanted to put an execute in. We then have Merciless Resolve. This is actually a really nice burst damage, and with the new update, update 47, it now gives us major prophecy and savagery while slotted on either bar, which boosts our critical strike chance by 12%. So really nice. And then obviously it builds up stacks with our light and heavy attacks up to 10, and then you can shoot it at a cost of 5 to deal really high damage, and if you're within melee range it will heal you. So a really nice cheap ability that can be heal and burst damage as well. This one I'm going to spend a bit of time on because not many people use this one, and I think this is such an underrated ability for what you can actually put it on. So this is the two-handed scribed ability, Smash. So what I've done is I've put on, it deals physical damage and fears them. For those that don't know, fear works nearly the same as a stun. The only difference is that they run away because they're scared. However, I've also put on Immobilize. So not only are they feared, which is the same as stun, they have to break free, they also are immobilized. So they don't actually run away, they stay standing still. So they have to break free, and they have to roll dodge to get rid of the immobilize. If they don't do both, they're stuck in position for 3 seconds. That is a hard CC in a cone with an 8-meter radius for 2,500. Then you also get the minus force for 20 seconds to give us the extra 10% critical damage, which with Monomyth will take us up to 30%. This build, when I've used it, is absolutely fantastic. If you've got those tanky players that just seem to constantly be able to block, the number of times I've popped this on them, they've been completely unable to do anything about it, and they've gone. So really good hard CC that's nice and cheap. We then have the obvious ultimate, Dragon Leap. We've morphed it into Take Flight. We want the extra damage. It also does stun them again as well in an area, so that's really nice. We've just went for it for the damage. We don't need the damage shield, but super nice. On our back wall bar, we've went for Spell Wall, which is a pretty much stable for Dragon Knights to block all costs, to block all of our incoming projectile attacks and reflect them. We've then went with our Healing Soul, so heal, restore, and Major Vitality. Because we get the minor Berserk from Monomyth, we've swapped to the other morph of Swiftness, so Deceptive Predator to give us the minor evasion. We've then used Resolving Vigor, which is obviously on every build, Bull Netch for the sustain and our major brutality, and then we're using Hardened Armor for our major resolve, and also a really nice damage shield. You can see there, 10,000, so that's super nice. In terms of a combo, you're probably going to be putting this up straight away, going into it, because the minute you can drop their resistances, you'll deal more damage. You're then going to be using this and this to spam. If you've swapped out for an execute, obviously that's fine. So mixing this in with a light attack, and And then once you've got them low enough, you can either use your execute, or you need to get them that little bit extra so you can then use the execute. That's where your merciless resolve comes in. One massive, huge hit knocks them down, either kills them, or low enough that you can then use your execute. And obviously if you don't want them to be healing, a fantastic stun, immobilize. They can't get away. Just superb. And then obviously your ultimate. So that is how I would run the combo. So you're hitting them with that, spamming them with that, using that to get them low, execute, stun. Moving on to our green CP. This is pretty standard. So we're using Gifted Rider, Steed's Blessing, and Sustained by Shadows. You can swap Sustained by Shadows because we're not particularly working in the shadows. And then obviously Liquid Efficiency, Rationer, and Breakfall, absolutely critical. For blue CPs, we are running Master at Arms to increase direct damage, Deadly Aim for single target, Duelist's Rebuff for our single damage reduction to single target damage, and then Untamed Aggression for our weapon and spell damage. And then red CP, we're using Celerity for movement speed. We don't have Minor Expedition, so I've left this on, but you can swap this to... Oh, where am I going? Come all the way out. You can swap it to Survival Instincts if you want. It's good for your sustain, so if you're not too worried about the speed, you can definitely swap that out. Pain's Refuge, so for every 2 negative effects, extra survivability, extra sustain from Sustained by Suffering, and then extra armor, just to boost our resistances. If I buff up, we'll start with that first. Going on to the front bar, you can then see the stats, so 28,000 resistances, 5,000 weapon spell damage, and then on our back bar, 31 and 30, so pretty standard. Obviously you can swap Duelist Rebuff for the extra critical resistance if you really want to get that a little bit higher, but then you're not really going to need to because of the Rallying Cry, so I'd take the extra 6% damage reduction. And then that is essentially the build. If you would like to see some gameplay, I'm going to try and include a short clip of gameplay for this one now.
Heal.
is everything. If you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or want any extra detail I haven't went into, just drop it in the comments and I will do my best to answer all of those questions. As always, I will catch you in the next one.